This is number 6. It says to graph each line on the graph and then write its equation. So the first line we have, it says it should have a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of -6. So I'm going to use the y-intercept to give me a starting point. So the y-intercept, I want to look at the y-axis and go to -6 units below the origin. And I'm going to mark that that's my y-intercept. And then I know the slope is 4. And that tells me every time I go over 1 in the x direction, I need to go up 4. Y needs to go up by 4. And sometimes it helps to write it as a fraction. So you can write the number 4 as a fraction by writing it as 4 over 1. So that tells me the change in y is 4. And the change in x is 1 because slope is change in y over change in x. So that's like my rise over run. So every time I go over 1, if I make a little slope triangle, I'm going to go up 4. And then I'll just continue doing that, going up 4 and over 1 to give me an idea of the points my line is going to go through. And then I'm going to connect them to make my line, put arrows on the ends to show that it goes on forever. So to write its equation, we know the general equation of a line, I'm going to write it up here, is y equals mx plus b. So where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So I'm just going to put in that my slope is 4 and my y-intercept is -6. And adding -6 is the same as just subtracting 6. So I'm just going to put -6. So that is my equation for that line. So then for part B, they have a different line. So this one needs to have a slope of 3 over 2. So 3 for this one is the change in y, or the rise. 2 is the change in x for this one, or the run. But we have to have somewhere to start. So it doesn't tell us the y-intercept, but it tells us a point the line goes through. It goes through the point 5, 7. So I'm going to find the point 5, 7 and mark that. And then I know from that point, my line is going to go up 3 every time it goes over 2. But I'm out of room because I'm already at the top of my graph. So I'm going to go backward and do the opposite. So I'm going to have my line go down 3 and go 2 to the left. It would go up 3 and over 2 if I had room, but I'm going to go this way since I don't. So I'm going to do like -3 and -2, because a -3 over a -2, negative divided by a negative gives you a positive 3 over 2. And then I can keep doing that, down 3 over 2 to the left to continue this line. And then I'm going to connect those. Now I have to figure out the equation for this one. So it's going to have that same form because it's a straight line. And I know the slope is 3 over 2, so I know it's going to be y equals 3 over 2x. But then my b is my y-intercept. I can look at my graph, and it looks like my y-intercept is maybe like -1/2, somewhere in between 0 and -1. And I could try to estimate it from the graph, but it's better to actually find it exactly using the equation. So that's what I'm going to do to make sure that my estimate from the graph is right. So I'm going to put plus b. We'll just call it b for now. But we can actually use this point that the line goes through to solve for b. So I'm going to plug in this point. So the 5 is the x-coordinate and the 7 is the y-coordinate. So in place of in place of y, I'm going to plug in 7. And in place of x, I'm going to plug in 5. And then I can solve this equation to find the exact value of b, of the y-intercept. So I'm going to multiply 3 over 2 by 5. It might help to realize that 5 is 5 over 1. And when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2. So I get 15 over 2. I don't really like calling this 15 over 2, so I'm just going to think about this. This is 15 divided by 2. So like half of 15, which is 7.5. So I'm going to put 7.5 because I think it'll be easier to work with as 7.5 rather than 15 over 2. And then I'm trying to get b by itself, so I'm going to now subtract 7.5 from each side. And when I do that, 7 minus 7.5 is negative 0.5 or negative 1/2. So that's what b must be. So to write the equation for this line, I'm going to say y equals, I know my slope is 3 over 2 x minus 0.5, or I could say minus 1/2. So that's my equation for that line.